Hello and welcome to Sophronia. This is Chris Buchanan, S08094773. We're going to do a quick walkthrough of the game itself first of all, and I'll keep mostly silent for this bit, I think, except to point out anything not so obvious. We'll start with the fun half. Ferris wheel. Spins according to switch. General theme park ambience. Moving into the industrial half then. Got some coins lying on the ground over here. We've got the palace at the start, and then we've got the bank building here. Bank of Sophronia. We've got a museum in the middle. And a factory. Construction site. And one thing that Manny pointed out is if I start collecting these coins, there's 4 altogether. Construction becomes more intense as you collect more coins. Behind this as the money in Sophronia runs out, construction becomes more urgent and panic to try and meet their deadline. And it comes to the settlement at this stage, which is the correct all at the moment. And Sophronia's run out of money. And a recession is triggered, which in this case means that the bank blows up and all activity in the industrial half ceases. So the factory is silent now, as is the museum, obviously the bank, and indeed the construction site, because they have no money left. Only the fountain trickles in the corner. So there we go, Sophronia in a nutshell. An extra feature. Yeah, an extra one. A feature is a pause menu with randomly generated brooding pause music. And that's that. In this section I'm going to show you some of the scripts that are used in Sophronia. We're going to start off with the script that controls the placement of the yellow coins around the industrial half, and that is rand boss. It's currently connected to the coin objects, I believe. Is it? Yes, it is. We generate a vector 3 randomly, but in a constrained way. I've given the x range. I've given the x value a range between 9 and 144. That corresponds to the x range of the industrial half of Sophronia. So if we were to think of the x going this way, I think it's going this way. That would be 9, and that's 144 in global coordinates. So that takes a random number between 9 and 144. We want the coins to be on the ground, so y stays as 0, and then z is just the same thing, only in the perpendicular direction to x, and that's between 4 and 9, 1. Generates this vector 3 from these three numbers, and then the coin's transform position then becomes that newly generated vector. This all happens in the start initialization, so the coins are placed as you enter the world, basically. 4 coins, each script is run separately for each coin, so they don't sit in top of each other, and that's how that is determined. So an obvious downfall, shortcoming maybe, is that the coins could appear inside any of these buildings. I didn't spend any time trying to overcome that, because it could be considered part of the game where you could be lucky enough to be able to collect all 4 coins and trigger the recession, or you could be unlucky and only able to collect 1, 2, or 3. It's really just part of the game, or it could be considered part of the game, so I didn't feel it was necessary to focus any more on that. Next script I'm going to look at is this one, the FPS interactions. This is tagged on, well, this is a component in the FPS controller, the first person character, and it does a few things at once, really. It's not the most organized script, but it worked, and that was the main thing for me. One of the things it does is that it controls the interaction between the player and the 4 switches that control the Ferris wheel speed. So if you look at these if statements, apparently I'm not allowed to scroll. If we look at these if statements, we can see that if we interact with a switch that's been tagged with the tag switch 1, then the Ferris wheel speed, which is this variable here, it's a float value which has been taken out of the spin script, which we'll look at in a minute. That variable will change to 0.2. If we interact with switch 2, 0.4. If we interact with switch 3, 0.6, etc. The speed goes from 0 to 1, with 1 being the fastest. So pretty straightforward. If you hit 0.8, then that's the fastest the Ferris wheel currently goes in the game. We've got another interaction here to do with objects tied coin, and that is basically if we interact or collide with, is this within a collide script? Yes, so yes, sorry, this is within a collider script. So these require colliders between the character and the objects we're interacting with. So if we collide with an object that's been tagged coin, we set active false in that, which basically destroys it. I could have used destroy, but at the time it didn't work, and this did, so there you go. We also, as we destroy the coin, so to speak, we increment 1 to the coin count, which is an integer, and it's been initialized in this script. Yes, it has. It's been initialized as a static integer in this script. We can ignore the p2d for now. Yes, so that increments by 1, and this p2d also increments by 0.25. That's a legacy component, but I've kept it in case it breaks something. And then the last thing is we've got an if statement that says basically if we collect 4 coins, which are the maximum amount of coins you can collect in the game, then we play the recession bell Fmod event. It's pretty straightforward, and that is an audio or a sonic indicator that you've triggered the recession in Sophronia. The next script I'll go through is, well, since we just mentioned recession, we'll have a look at the destruction script. This used to be a lot more complicated, but now it's quite simple because I've put other components of it in different scripts. This is tagged onto the Bank of Sophronia for reasons that will become apparent. As you can see, it's sitting right here, and it's taking two game objects as input. The first object is the object that the bank will turn into once the recession has been triggered, and this bank remains -6 is exactly the same as bank in a lot of ways, except the individual modeling components of the bank have been given rigid bodies and physical characteristics such that once the bank turns into this bank remains, then it will basically explode or fragment in a somewhat random way. The reason it does this is, if we have a look at the update frame, again we've got this trigger which is pulling the coin count variable from FPS interactions. Once we see that that hits 4, then we're instantiating a object called remains, which we've fed into the script from here, and that's the remains. We are making it appear at the bank's current position and rotation. We are destroying the bank and then replacing it obviously with the bank remains object. And we are also attempting to destroy anything that has an industrial tag associated with it. So that would be, for example, the museum has an industrial tag, Packham Palace has an industrial tag. This wasn't intended to destroy most, or if not all, of the industrial half once the recession occurs. This doesn't happen. I would love to know why. The code is there, it should work, but it doesn't. Anyway, the last thing that's quite important is we instantiate the Boringville game object, which is an empty game object with an Fmod audio event associated with it. That in turn also has a snapshot associated with it, which means that whenever Boringville is triggered and is playing, everything else industrial ducks out, and we are left with this ambient, abandoned type noise to complement the recession. So that's the destruction script. Another one to look at is wheel sound. This is a mainly audio related script connected to the Ferris wheel, which is hiding here somewhere. There it is. In particular, the rotation pivot of the Ferris wheel. This is a purely audio related script, and it controls the event instance here, the Ferris wheel loop in Fmod, labels it Ferris, and then it attempts to play the event at the current game object's transform position, and also it interacts with the parameter speed from Fmod and changes it during play according to the speed of the Ferris wheel itself. That's pretty much that, so that's how that happens. In a similar vein, the construction site sound script also pulls in some events, the construction site hammering, drill and generator, associates these with the transform positions of the game object in question. In this case, it is tagged onto the construction site itself, or at least there's an empty game object within the construction site somewhere, I believe. Construction site noises, so that has a position associated with it, and we tag that onto the event. We initialize the parameter values and then change them interactively according to the coin count number. So the higher the coin count, the more frantic the building. Anything else? I think that's it. Oh yeah, and the spin. This is the script that controls the spin of the Ferris wheel. It's pretty simple. It initializes a flute, starts it at 0, and then it spins in accordance with the time counter, which is internal to Unity, I believe, and spins it in one particular axis. This number changes according to which button you press in Unity in the environment. And that's everything, I think. Yes, it is.